Grand Rising. This is the Verbal Antidote channel, and I'm back. Okay. This is a very provocative video. All right? I'll see y'all is not gone. Take heed or believe it. But, allegedly, Candace Owens, the infamous one, that says things on a tightrope, has Doppler gang most of my political videos, all right? Allegedly. But it's like this. They walk like a duck. They talk quacks like a duck. It's a duck. But anyway, I see you. I ain't mad at you. But she at least could mention my video name and everything and podcast. But once again, I ain't mad at you. Here we go. Watch. I can see everything in my video. She says on her video. I can piece everything together. All right? I can tell she gathered up everything from my videos and put it all into a great op-ed podcast. She just souped up the words just a little bit. So, here we go.
Hi, I'm Russ, a certified public accountant and small business owner. So many self-employed individuals like you and me face difficulty. Hello, America. I'm Mark.
Candace Owens has returned from a self-imposed exile to ignite the internet with a provocative exposition that has drawn significant attention in Israel. This time, she aimed her criticisms at Zionism, describing it as a cankerworm that has grown into a monster resistant to scrutiny. Owens particularly targeted Ben Shapiro and Rabbi Shmuley in her sharp critique, accusing them of misusing the Jewish World War II experience to advance a political agenda aligned with authoritarianism in America. In her tirade, Owens maintained a seemingly innocent demeanor despite her perceived anti-Semitic remarks, especially her use of the phrase, "Christ is King." She vehemently condemned the ongoing violence in the Gaza Strip, attributing the civilian death to what she perceives as Israel's recklessness and inhumanity towards Palestinians. Owens' recent media activities mark a significant transformation in her public persona. During her hiatus, she embraced the Christian faith and emerged as a new conservative Christian, a combination that, along with her identity as a black woman, presents an unconventional blend. Owens also made noticeable changes to her video backgrounds and her Twitter activity. Her recent tweets are more measured, often aimed at criticizing the justifications used by war advocates to sustain American support for endless conflicts in Palestine. Her interview with Piers Morgan was particularly revealing, although some aspects of her arguments were overlooked by many observers. On the latest episode of the Open-Minded Thinker Show, her discourse has been analyzed in depth, highlighting her evolution into a pro-peace advocate. Before we watch this most daring exposition, it's important to note that Owens used her platform to criticize Israel's reluctance to agree to a comprehensive ceasefire despite the significant civilian casualties. She claimed that the ongoing conflict appears to be aimed at the ethnic cleansing of Gazans and the takeover of their lands. While she condemned the Palestinian attacks on October 7th, she argued that these actions could have been avoided if the world had rejected the displacement and dehumanization of Palestinians. Owens emphasized the need for peace, advocating for its extension worldwide, particularly in regions where Christians face persecution. She mentioned Armenia and other areas where both Christians and Muslims encounter increasing social and religious challenges. Owens' arguments add to the growing uncertainty surrounding the proposed ceasefire endorsed by the UN Security Council. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken stated that Hamas had proposed numerous, often unworkable changes to a US-backed ceasefire proposal. However, senior Palestinian official Osama Hamdan denied these claims, asserting that it was Israel that was rejecting proposals and accusing the US of siding with its Israeli ally. Owens believes that these ongoing disputes are counterproductive, as they result in the loss of more lives over issues that should be resolved at the negotiating table. She did not hold back in her critique, emphasizing the urgent need for a peaceful resolution.
I posted a standalone Bible verse, this is just a pure fact, and calling for peace. And at the end of the verse, I ended it and said, "Christ is King" last November. Andrew Clavin references that. The reason why this even became a scandal is because of Andrew Clavin. Andrew Clavin did an episode called "Because Christ is Really King," and then he accused me wrongly of spitting that phrase at a Jew. That simply never happened, as I showed in my first episode back. We just made that up out of thin air. I posted a standalone Bible verse, and I wrote at the end of it, "Christ is King," and then a Jew responded to me telling me to quit my job. So what happens sometimes is then time passes and people try to rewrite history, but we're not going to do revisionist history here. I tweeted "Christ is King" appropriately following a Bible verse when I was 38 weeks pregnant, and I stand by that proverb, and I stand by my declaring Christ to be King, as I have done many times.
Okay, so two things about
it's
that.
Basic Christian doctrine.
Two things about that. Why would you tweet that particular passage from the Bible, ending "Christ is King" on 14th of November 2023? What was your motivation?
Yeah, happy to answer that question. So if people remember what was happening at that time, Ben Shapiro was caught on a tape calling me faux sophisticated and some other stuff, a disgrace, I think was the term. And again, I was 38 weeks pregnant, about to give birth, and my husband just told me, every media person in the world is contacting you globally, asking you to give a comment, to say something. It's obviously a very traumatizing thing to go through in the moment when you're that pregnant and suddenly you're like, I just don't want to deal with this drama. I don't mean like trauma in the very leftist, I feel traumatized by this, but just it's a lot happening leading up to birth. And my husband told me to read the Bible. He said, just read the Bible. And you don't have to answer these media members. You don't have to give a comment. You don't have to say anything. These things are all fickle. It doesn't matter.
Just to be clear on the chronology, because the video of Ben saying what he said, he said, I think her behaviour during this has been disgraceful, without a doubt. I think her
that came first.
Yeah, that came out on 15th of November 2023. But you had posted what you posted on the 14th of November.
That's not correct. You have your timeline wrong. It was the video came first.
So you were responding directly to the video?
No, I'm trying to finish.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000? Because I use Amazon AI. I'm going to show you a
in America. The genocide is always wrong. And so, by the way, even if I was talking about Israel or I was talking about Palestine, that statement should hold.
No,
there is no justification in the world
but for the
genocide. So
I
was very surprised to see that tweet go viral and people so angry about it. I was actually overseas at the moment. I was in the UK. And so it seemed very strange to me that people would have a problem with it no matter what side you're on. But in that particular moment, I was talking about Ryan Mass, and on my very next show, I clarified that.
And do you think, for the record, that what Israel's been doing constitutes genocide?
Well, what I've been having trouble is all of the people that are pro-Israel and say it's not a genocide won't tell me what is a genocide. What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you. They won't tell you what constitutes genocide. So I would like a clear understanding of how many Palestinians have to die before we are allowed to term it a genocide. All of the experts can't agree on what a genocide actually is, but they love to float around the word on virtually every other issue. I have Rabbi Barclay on my show, on one of my last shows when I was on the Daily Wire, and I asked him that question pointedly: what is genocide? Let us know, experts, what percentage of the population of Palestinians has to be killed before we are allowed to say that it's genocide. What I can tell you is I am completely uncomfortable and utterly against the amount of Palestinian innocent lives that have been lost in this conflict, particularly children. And any person who is fearful of stating that the death of innocent children has been utterly unacceptable is a coward.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, but do you personally think it constitutes genocide? Which is the deliberate...
What I'm saying to you is
I can tell you what
pursued on my show.
Yeah.
What is the number?
No, I understand.
What is the official number? That's it. I mean, somebody tell me and I'll give you an answer.
I don't think there is a
specific... Try it when you have...
Well, it's not about a number.
On both sides of the debate on.
Yeah, it's not
what do you mean it's not a number?
Here's my answer.
And do they give you an answer?
Well, no, because here's the point. It's not about specific numbers. It's about an intent.
But it has to be.
Well, no, it's not. It's about an intent to eradicate.
That's not true, Piers, because in America they say that Native Americans is a genocide committed by white men. This is what they say, right?
I'm talking about what the definition
True.
of genocide is.
But what I'm telling you is that would be incorrect because the majority of Native Americans died from smallpox. It was accidental.
Yep.
Some 90% of Native Americans died from smallpox.
I'm telling you
a genocide.
I understand. I'm telling you what the
Not accidental
genocide, which is not about a specific number in any circumstance. It's about an intent to target and eradicate a whole people based on their ethnicity.
I'm disputing that by telling you that they legally say within America that Native Americans, a genocide was committed against Native Americans. Factually speaking, 90% of them, 93% of them died from smallpox. So it was actually an epidemic, right? So is the definition shifting? Because
Where'd
what I'm understanding from Rabbi Barclay, the definition of
anti-Semitism
shifts, so maybe the definition of genocide has shifted, but
let me read you.
Let me
read you.
Hold on, y'all. I did not know that she was this naive in her thinking. Okay, let me double down on her. It was not no disease. Smallpox wasn't even in the native country. They brought smallpox, you can call it that too, because it's nasty bullshit. The colonizers brought smallpox over here, wrapped it up in blankets, and fed the blankets to the women and children. Okay? Smallpox wasn't an accident. So, the colonizers brought smallpox from Europe. And that age, indentured time, and memorial, they was escaping the Black Plague, all right? So, I did not know that she was this stupid and naive. But now, I can see through her chrome dome skull that she is totally naive, all right? How can you be so blatantly blind with shutters over your eyes? The more I listen to her, the more naive and simple, blinded, shutterish mentality on certain things that she had. Now she has made me come out of the bag on her. Allegedly. But I know what she needs. She's gonna get it. Some bifocus. But anyway, let her rip. Take two.
Let me read you the exact wording and see whether you think it applies to... Let me read you the exact definition of genocide from the Oxford English Dictionary. The deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. So by that definition, do you believe that is what's happening to the Palestinian people and is being perpetrated by Israel?
Well, I would say is that Israel has proven in the past that they can be very specific when they want to get.
Just say yeah.
Are you driving way less than you used to? Do you have a clean driving?
Hold on, y'all. Fair
Are you
use.
over 25? Do you not have a DUI?
Get somebody out, whether that's a hostage or any other certain military operation. And what I am seeing happening,
Here we go, y'all.
getting the specific language of a genocide is something that I'm using my platform to speak out against, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me what the media calls me. I've had every headline. I do not believe that they are being careful in what they are doing.
It's where the Doppler game of my videos begin.
It seems to me that the
I
destruction
know,
of the hospitals,
but you don't know.
schools, and of the UN buildings. Would you say, Piers, that you believe that's
It's all good, though.
I do not believe Israel's waging genocide. I think that.
Do you believe? But I'm asking you, do you believe that they're
I think
targeting
the scale.
the hospital?
Well, no, I'll be clear with you. I can answer the question. I have said repeatedly in the last few weeks and months that I think the proportionality of Israel's response is now unacceptable, and particularly they decided to go into Rafah, a refugee camp that they.
Take 3. I was one of the first person to have content about the IDF, Israel, and about genocide. All right. Nobody on YouTube gave a damn. Okay? So with that said, let the doppelganging continue. Once again, I ain't mad at her. Let her rip.
Be set up to then target Hamas in the middle of a refugee camp, being bound to kill so many innocent civilians in the process, I think is unacceptable. But I'm just curious, given that you tweeted about genocide and no government ever has a right to do it, whether by your calculation from that definition, what Israel is doing is deliberately killing a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group.
Yeah, well, what I can say to you, again, because these definitions shift, I don't think we need to focus on the word, because I'm telling you what I believe. And my belief is that they are not being careful whatsoever. My belief is that there has been too much loss of Palestinian life.
But that's different to genocide, though.
But okay, that's fine. We don't need
Hold on,
to I don't know why you're obsessing over this one word.
Well, because he...
Let me get on him. Piers Morgan is totally and unequivocally in denial of genocide. He is totally red in the face with her. All right. Once again, just because she doppelganging stuff, I don't dislike her. I never told you that. Get it out your head. I'm quite fond of her. She is totally an enigma to me. But him, he's in total denial of genocide. He won't say it from his civil red tongue. Piers Morgan. Let her out.
Tweeted about genocide. You told me.
I'm only trying to tell
you. It's about Brian Mast. So you're harping on this issue. There's a lot more topics we should talk about. I'm being very clear in how I feel about this issue. The Israeli government is not being careful in how they're dealing with this. I agree with you that the amount of death has been completely unacceptable. When I tweeted that was back in November. So we're talking way more lives that have been lost, and that tweet was about Brian Mast. So I could never imagine the amount of dead Palestinian children that I would see on my X feed since then.
It's horrific.
It's heartbreaking to me as a mother. It's horrific to me that the media seems almost complicit in the dehumanization of Palestinians, and I will not be on that side, because at the end of the day, the hit pieces, the name calling, the anti-Semitism, the psychopathic language that seems to be coming out of people means nothing.
But on your
and
X
I want to make
feed,
sure everybody knows this, right? At the end of the day,
on your YouTube
you
feed,
are going to have to account to God.
I'm the man with the videos, all right?
The things that you were complicit in.
That's where you got them from.
That you did not have enough courage to state.
Okay.
The
It's all good.
death of Palestinian children has been unacceptable, full stop.
Okay.
Bibi Netanyahu, in my view, should not be given an invitation to Congress. I think it's unacceptable.
I agree.
Unacceptable.
I don't
and to
think
be clear, for whatever the reason, when it comes to the topic of Israel, it does seem that journalists are fearful to critique Israel.
Well, I'm not.
There we go.
Because I would say, Piers, that you seem a little fearful to critique Israel.
Here we go.
I've always seen that you're coming across a little bit understanding of everything they're doing. What is it that makes journalists,
journalists, let me respond.
Fearful of saying, hey, Israel has done a ton of things that have been very wrong.
Yes, and I have said they're wrong. I think Netanyahu should go. I think half of that cabinet should go. Because some of them have definitely been using genocidal language. I think a lot of what Israel's been doing in the last few weeks is completely unacceptable. But ultimately, I also, from the start of this conflict, Israel not only had a right to defend itself after the terror attack on October the 2nd, but a fundamental duty to its people. And here's where I'm just curious about your tweeting through this.
Hold on, y'all. He can't say it because he is mixed with British and Jewish descendants in his bloodline. All right? So let it go.
Procedure, this whole war, because
you're not going to say genocide.
You didn't tweet anything. You didn't tweet anything on October the 8th. And October the 9th, you tweeted so much world peace ever since we got the orange man out of office. So glad the adults are back in charge. A lot of people said...
Hold on, y'all. He's trying to start something. He putting Donald Trump in there. We're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about genocide in Israel. Now he's making her double back once again. Stick to the subject, all right? Journalists are so cliche.
Well, if you care this much about innocent people being killed, why didn't you say anything when 1,200 people were massacred to death in the most brutal, barbaric manner in this awful terror attack by Hamas, and nearly 7,000 more were wounded, some of them catastrophically?
Freeze. Once again. He's trying to double back. He's trying to say one side is not better than the other side. And the total rubble, ashes, fire, silt, smut of the metal birds that has been pounded on Gaza compared to the parachutes of terror from Hamas. There's no comparison. All right? It's like sticking a bumblebee inside of the ocean, waiting for a bullfrog to eat it. There's no comparison. Piers Morgan is a one-sided journalist. All right? There we go. Let it rip.
And irreparably, why did that not compel you to say anything?
Candace Owens expressed a nuanced and contentious view regarding the Ukraine conflict. She stated that she does not want to see either Russian President Vladimir Putin or Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky prevail, suggesting that such an outcome would be disastrous.
Hold on, y'all. On that note, on Ukraine and the Russian war, I got videos on that too. Nobody else does but me. I got more than anybody. All right? So, you know what it is. It's a dop game, baby. Let her roll.
For the peoples of both nations. Owens' call for justice and peace, while seemingly noble, appears contradictory from a conventional standpoint, as it implies a form of moral equivalence between the aggressor and the victim. From the perspective of international law, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is unequivocally condemned. Putin's military aggression against a sovereign nation, initiated without just cause, has led to widespread devastation and the seizure of significant Ukrainian territories. This blatant violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity has prompted a unified international response, characterized by severe economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation aimed at crippling Russia's war efforts. The global consensus is that such actions are necessary to uphold international law and deter future aggressions. The world's reaction to Russia's invasion stands in stark contrast to its response to Israel's military operations in Palestine, particularly in Gaza. When Israel launched a ground offensive against Gaza, leading to a high civilian death toll, many expected similar global condemnation and punitive measures against Israeli leadership. Critics argue that Israeli actions, which include plans to displace and occupy Palestinian territories, constitute a flagrant disregard for human rights and international law, akin to Russia's actions in Ukraine. However, the anticipated global backlash against Israel did not materialize to the same extent. While there were calls for accountability and restraint, significant sanctions and widespread diplomatic pressure akin to those imposed on Russia were largely absent. This discrepancy has been attributed to various factors, including geopolitical alliances, the influence of powerful lobby groups, and the historical complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Owens said the world would have done better.
It's pretty obvious that it's just a money laundering operation. It's very obvious that we have been lied to about what's been going on in that region for a very long time. Ukraine has always notoriously been a laundromat for America, and I'm sure you may recall, since you seem to be an avid follower of my tweets, where I pointed out that even the New York Times was talking about how corrupt Zelensky was just a couple of years before the war. They were describing him as a corrupt oligarch.
That wasn't my question.
He's now suspended elections. He's shut down churches, okay? He is conscripting young Christian men to their deaths in a region where Christian men
None of this was my question.
Anytime. I'm just not answering it quickly enough for you, Pierce. So
Well,
go
why
ahead.
do you want Putin to win?
Nobody, you are pretending that it's because we want Putin to win.
Well, that's the
truth is,
consequence of not helping Ukraine.
it's not about wanting Putin to win. It's about realizing that trying to tell us that this person is worse than this person is a nonsense. We do not support